Cooperation, not competition, moves the world forward. Many people will disagree with me about that. And if you're one of those people, I hope you'll give me a chance to make my argument. Now, people, especially here in the U.S., tend to prioritize competition and being competitive as the heart of progress, of success, of course, of winning. But it's really not. For example, people will point at sports and argue that it's the competitive nature of the athletes that drives them to perform at their best. And although on the surface that may seem correct, it's what lies below that really gives them the opportunity to perform at their best. Raising your kids to be independent, confident, good decision makers is about teaching them the value, the necessity of working together to achieve real success, to make real progress. Now, here's a stat that most people don't know. They don't realize this. Only about 10% of our military are considered combat troops. The rest, 90%, provide support. The media tends to focus on elite soldiers, SEALs, Rangers, parajumpers, airborne. What they don't talk about is that for every one of those combat troopers, there are 9 people behind the scenes that support them in their mission. That's teamwork. That's cooperation. Those combat troops could never accomplish their mission without the support they receive from all those behind-the-scenes support people. Now, why don't we talk about the 90% and tend to focus all our attention on the 10%? Well, because the 90% aren't sexy. They lack pizzazz, the excitement of the proverbial super trooper saving the day. Now, let me swing back to the professional athletes in this country to help make this point. We generally idolize those athletes. They do amazing things on their field of play. They make big bucks, most of them, many of them I should say, and live glamorous lifestyles. They are excitement personified, but they can't do that. They can't do what they do without all the behind-the-scenes support they get. Let me give you another fact that may blow your mind. An NBA team, a professional basketball team, has 15 players on their roster during the regular season. How many people does that organization employ? Well, according to a Google research search, between 200 and 300 people are employed by the average NBA organization. Only 15 of those people are the actual players. The team you see, just 15 players. The people you don't see that make all of that happen, 200 plus. In reality, that's the real team. Far more people than just the 15 players. Because the players, they can't do what they do without their team. The behind-the-scenes support they get. You see, it's cooperation that moves the world forward. Cooperation develops the technologies, the drugs, the life-saving products that we need to survive and prosper as human beings. It's not competition. Now, before I answer your question that you're probably shouting at me right now, it's competition that drives that success. I'll answer that in a minute. But before I respond to that, let me show you a quick video of a very cool example of cooperation. This is the Barcelona Guitar Trio. It's a little confusing since there are 4 guys in this clip, but they're the Barcelona Guitar Trio. I put a link in the video description to this full video, as well as a link to their homepage. They're playing the Michael Jackson song, Billie Jean. This is cooperation. It's teamwork at its finest. Enjoy. Check out the link to those guys and watch some of their stuff. It's awesome. Now, You may question my argument regarding cooperation versus competition because you, as well as most people, believe it's competition that drives success, that drives progress. And yes, competition is a part of it. Competition does often provide the fuel, the motivation to perform at the boundaries of your abilities. But it's the cooperation that's the essence of that success, that progress. Here's an example. You probably have an iPhone or some other smartphone within reaching distance right now. I'm sure of it. Let me talk about that iPhone. Steve Jobs may have been the visionary, the brilliant mind behind the creation of the first smartphone. But do you really believe he and he alone could have produced what you take for granted as an everyday device available to virtually everyone? Of course not. It was a group headed up by the great and powerful Woz, Steve Wozniak, and a massive team of engineers and other support staff that brought the smartphone to life. Now, I remember a friend of mine showing me the very first iPhone, and it was mind-blowing. I couldn't believe it. It was like straight out of a science fiction novel and what that device could do. That smartphone was the result of years of work by many, many people. Cooperation. Yes, Steve Jobs was a very competitive man, and his competitive spirit helped drive the creation of that product. But it was the cooperation of a large group of people that brought that product to life. Now, what does any of this have to do with parenting and raising an independent, confident, good decision maker? And a bunch is the answer. This is a sad statistic. 1 in 6 U.S. companies today are reluctant to hire Gen Z workers. And a few of the reasons why they don't want to hire them: their poor interpersonal skills, poor communication skills, lack of problem-solving skills, inability to understand the value of collaboration, cooperation, the adaptability and their conflict resolution, working in a team. They don't possess those skills. Companies don't want to hire, or are very reluctant to hire, Gen Z workers because that generation doesn't understand the importance of cooperation. Too many Gen Zs don't know how to cooperate. Now, why? That's always the most important question to ask. In my last video, I talked about asking the critical question, does this make sense? The very next question you should ask after that one is why? See, once you realize something's not passing the smell test, you need to follow that up with understanding why. Why are today's generations having so difficult a time with understanding that cooperation is the root of progress, the core of success? And further, that it's a heck of a lot more important than competition when the goal is to actually do good, to succeed at something, especially the more complicated a problem is that you need to solve. Look at volunteering. I have 2 videos about volunteering. One where I make the case for what's wrong with today's volunteering. The second video is about how to make volunteering a meaningful experience for your son or daughter. Many volunteer organizations, most, have a face, a person that is the driving force behind the group. But it's only through the cooperation and teamwork of that group of people that the volunteering organization actually succeeds at their goal. Habitat for Humanity wouldn't build many homes if it was only a single person working. It's the efforts of the group that succeed at the mission. It's cooperation that's so critical. Now, sometimes cooperation, working with a team or a group of people, can be frustrating. It can be chaotic and challenging. It's messy, it's sloppy at times, it's most often inefficient. But that's the way progress works. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I would never say cooperation is easy, because it's not. But it's necessary to realize a complicated goal or objective. It's the root of working through issues to come to the best outcome, cooperation. Competition may help drive people towards a goal, but it's the cooperation that gets them there. Now, let me again tie this back into parenting. The last few generations of parents have placed such a huge emphasis on making their child the center of the universe that we've seen a drastic increase in the amount of narcissistic children and ultimately narcissistic adults. Narcissists don't make good team members. They don't understand the importance of prioritizing the team's goals over their own goals. Everything a narcissist does is in furtherance of their personal goals, their personal wants and desires. It's a me, me, me attitude. A parent's number one job is to prepare their son or daughter for life as an adult. And of course, in my opinion, using the philosophies of raising an independent, confident, good decision maker is all about preparing your child for adulthood, living their best life. But when we look at the rise of narcissism over the last few generations, something has gone wrong, very wrong. How do you get your child to understand that cooperation is more important than competition when we, as a society, seem to consistently value competition and winning over cooperation? First, parents have got to stop treating their children as if they're the most important person in the world, the center of the universe. Parents need to find ways in which to put their kids in situations where they are followers. Second, kids need to learn to be part of a group to learn the importance of contributing to a team. Now, the easiest example is a team sport, but I'm going to use a different example. I'm going to use music to make this point. I started playing the saxophone in the 5th or 6th grade. When I got to middle school, I played in the band. Being a part of a student band or student orchestra is an amazing opportunity to understand the power of cooperation. Each instrument literally plays their own part, but they add to the whole. You've got to actually watch a band or orchestra perform to really appreciate this, to see how each instrument section performs, how at times they're the forward section, other times they're following and supporting another section. It doesn't matter the trumpet section, the flute section, brass versus woodwinds. It's the cooperation of all those different instruments and groups that make grand music, a symphony. They're not competing. The end product is the result of cooperation. I mentioned earlier companies don't want to hire Gen Zs. That's terrifying for parents of future generations. The outrageous cost of college, and then no one will hire you? You can't get a job? So many Gen Zs are not capable of adult behaviors that are critically necessary to work for a living, for a company, to earn a living as part of a team. Now, I'm sorry to say it, but far too many Gen X parents didn't do a very good job parenting. They didn't properly prepare their kids, Gen Zs, for life as adults. What kind of a job do you think millennial parents are doing? Now, I stumbled across an article about discussing Gen Z. The title of that article, Feral, Illiterate, Doomed. Generation Alpha are a quarter of the world's population, and people are worried about them. I put a link to that article below. Holy smokes. Only parents can reverse this downward trend. Politicians can't do it. Teachers can't do it. Policy can't do it. Only parents can do it. Raise an independent, confident, good decision maker, and you'll change the world. One parent at a time, one child at a time. Teach your kids the value of cooperation. It's the foundation of an intelligent, confident, productive adult. Thanks for listening.